I think there's a societal collapse, and I think partially it's due to the lack of family, lack of a belief that having kids and family is a good thing. So many times we hear in the news how that Korea has a population rate of like 0.72 or something like that, and Japan's not far behind, Europe is not far behind, and a number of other countries, including the United States and Latin America, also have similar issues, not quite as drastic, but still similar issues, where there seems to be a population decline, a mass population decline, so much so that in 100 years, we might have a way less number of people in society. And part of the reason it seems like, which we'll get into in this conversation here, seems to maybe be impacted by one's religious view of the world, and that is interesting, and also view of like money and materialism and stuff, things like that, and what one values as well. So with that, let's jump in. I have a quick outline. I'm going to go with you on. I think it's going to be helpful just so we can follow along here, and you can read along if you want, or you can just listen to my thoughts as we go along here, and you can tell me what you think. So let's just jump into this. I think one of the big things that I hear in society a lot is like, oh, why can't governments help support families more and provide more, let's say, a daycare and after school programs and such types of mediating type of and organizations? It's like, well, why would we want that as especially as Christians? Because I'm speaking to Christians, as a Christian to Christians here. If you're not a Christian, you can listen in. But this is really to Christians. The widespread desire for daycare for me, it seems really confusing, because why would you want that? You would want something different. You wouldn't want families to be around your child and not some, person that you don't know who they are, what they believe, and where they come from. And I don't think this whole idea that, oh, to benefit society we need more daycares and after school programs. I don't think that's the case at all. I mean, I would argue for the opposite. We need less of those things, and we need more families being able to make themselves work better, like having the mom stay home and homeschooling. Those types of things I think will transmit not only transmit better values to the kids long term, and have a better connected family, but also you have much more successful kids in the end as well. And I think this is very similar to the belief that there's been a push for better wages and a better, public housing for people. But I think these miss the main point. Providing value to the world in return for value or reaping the benefits should be our main concern, not waiting for the government to come in as, Big Daddy to come and save us all. No, we as Christians should be the ones taking the step to say, hey, how do I supply value to my family and support my family? I think this is very, very important. These systems should not be relied on, but I think we should be focused on our families. And I do think that daycares in general and after school programs don't really help. They're there for a very specific reason, and I'll talk about that in the next section here. But I think what really truly helps the growth of society and the growth of the family is having good, strong families, and that's number one. And that's where we need to focus on marriages. That's where we need to focus on promoting values of Christian values to the world, promoting big families instead of arguing for small families. I mean, when I'm saying big families, I'm saying 2 or more, 3 or more. Like, you don't need to necessarily have to have 50 kids to have a big family. No, you really can't usually, but you get my point. Is you don't have to exaggerate here. Even larger groups like, let's say, the Amish, that seem to be populating really quickly in the United States. Their birth rates of 7 kids per family, 6 kids per family on average. Well, that's quite a good number, but it's not impossible. A lot of people have that even today. And this should not be, especially if you're a Christian, you should not be making fun of other Christians who have big families. That's number one. Like, if you're doing that, shame on you. Like, literally, shame on you. You should not be doing that. And I don't want it to sound like, naughty, but you got my point. That's not helpful. That's very anti-biblical to say, oh, you should not have more kids. The Bible in Genesis says, go out and multiply. He does not say just have 1 or 2 kids. He says, go multiply. So if you want to take the Bible seriously, you want to take what Jesus seriously talks about in the apostles and Genesis and the Moses, then we should be willing to follow what God speaks, what God says. Okay, role of daycare and similar types of organizations. I think that there are uses for these, and this is especially useful for extreme situations. Let's say a parent dies, or So you're disconnected from the rest of your family, or some sort of rare case, hopefully rare, of divorce or single motherhood or fatherhood. So yeah, these things are needed in rare circumstances, but they should be so rare that they're almost unheard of. Like that would be my goal. And when I hear people in society say, "Oh, we should promote this stuff," it's like, what are you talking about here? We should make these so rare that we don't need them as a society. And there's this little line in the pro-abortion crowd that says safe, legal, and rare. And this is meaning that there should be some cases for abortion, but that's not what I believe that at all. But in this situation, in totally different context, these should be safe, legal, and rare, but they should be rare. Like, believe me, safe, legal, but really rare. And they should not be used very often, and they should not be used for child rearing either. It's just as a stopgap for the last um, possible opportunity for someone to take care of your child should be these types of situations. But again, like I said before, it should not be the cornerstone for child rearing or child care for your family. Value transmission, you have much better opportunity to transmit your values to your next generation, to your kids, if you have them home with you. A strong family structure is key to social stability, and family growth, and just stability on a personal level as well. And I think the family is key to this whole situation, to be able to do this. Now, going traditional, very biblical husband and wife model. This is not even necessarily biblical. It's just more like how God created it. And obviously the Bible is in accordance to how God's creation works. But God created the world where there's a husband and wife model. Man, woman get married for life and don't get divorced. Now, if we have this mindset as a Christian culture across the board, it is controversial, I know, but if we have this mindset, a lot of these types of issues kind of go by the wayside. A husband and wife family model provides more stability, creating better environment for children to grow and learn. Um, so that's that. And I think this helps us not only preserve culture, but also, I think, more importantly, preserve the values and Christian ethics and Christianity to the next generation much better. And with this, kids not only are better, um, uh, better with their values and with their life, but also emotionally they're more stable. They are more emotionally connected. They're better at economically and academically, and they are more socially aware and be able to communicate better at a social level. Um, Also, one of the unintended consequences that a lot of people miss with a divorce, or a when people shack up with each other and have kids, is that these are less stable. Number one. Number two, you don't build as much wealth as fast. Um, a husband and wife model can build wealth faster, because you two people working together as a team, and they can produce more, and it's a lot more efficient. And then you have kids, they can help out too. So you're producing more value to the world, but you're taking less resources. So you're helping the world in general with this strong nuclear family. Now, financial efficiency as well, because you don't have to buy as many things. Like, you have only one place to rent or buy instead of two. So if you have, let's say, two people who are separated, they get a divorce situation, this happens, we have rentals. And there's so many of our situations, sadly enough, there's couples that get divorced, and there's the separation. And when there's a separation, now you have two properties that people are maintaining separately. Like, they're paying for two separate properties. And when you do that, you decrease your wealth really fast. And then when you do this, it also obviously you have the daycare and all these other expenses, because you have a separation in the family. And when you have two parents who are married working together, it's much better. You can buy property together, and it's much more stable. You have one person, or you have two people to help make decisions, make wiser decisions, instead of one person just shooting from the hip. You have two people to help control each other, to slow down and not make quick decisions that are bad, but maybe have a little more delayed gratification. A lot of times in society, we hear about, like, oh, the man or the woman wants to spend all the money all the time. But if both parties are working together and trying to help each other control each other's spending, all of a sudden you can start saving more. And with delayed gratification, you can do better financially. You can have increased savings and increased investments. Also, there's this massive concern of global depopulation. So this is where this whole issue comes up often. It's like, wait, okay, there's this global depopulation because people are having less kids. So how do we increase people to have more? How do we encourage people to have more kids? Can the government encourage that? How about if we have more public housing? How about if we have more daycare and after school care and etc. and better education and all this other stuff. It's like, no, you're missing the point. The point is not these issues. If you want to stop global depopulation, you have larger families. And if you have larger families, you all suddenly can do this. But how do you have those larger families? Well, you have the religious communities seem to be the ones that are having the larger families. That's Jews, Muslims, Christians, Amish, all these types of people, Catholics, all these types of dedicated hyper-religious groups seem to be the ones that have increased birth rates. So it does seem to have a connection to some sort of religiosity or hyper-religious viewpoint in the home that seems to increase birth rates. So encourage religion, encourage God, and especially Christianity in the home. This is a very good thing. And it also helps great, I mean, if nothing else, if you're an atheist, it builds a good foundation for ethics and a good foundation for everything else in society that we have come to know in the West, whether that's the scientific enterprise, the university system, or hospital systems. These types of things were founded within a Christian framework, a Christian worldview. Were they impacted by other cultures and other societies and other religions? Sure, but it definitely has its strong roots. The main root goes back to Christianity. Um, the great example I love to show, and I had a whole video on this, is the Amish. The Amish are doubling in population about every 20 years, most sources say. I know of someone who told me it's like every 16 years in his community, where they're doubling every 16 years now. So if you want to see repopulation, the Amish are doing their part really well. But again, they're hyper religiously focused too. So if you see this connection there, again, Jews, Muslims, and Catholics and Christians and Amish and stuff like that seem to be in the same category with this, is that there's a increase in these communities to have more kids. Okay, we talked about greater wealth. I'm going to skip that, but I talked about that. The only one I want to talk about is generational wealth right here. There is this idea in society that generational wealth is not a good thing, but I think it's a good thing. The Bible says, inheritance is a good thing. We should leave inheritance to our kids, and that's definitely spiritual, but also material as well. The thing about generational wealth, though, is you have to train your kids how to take care of your finances and not have them be what someone once termed waiters, wait until you die to get all your stuff. You want them to go out and produce and be successful in the world on their own rights. And if you're not transmitting those values properly to your kids, then what are you doing? Like, seriously, that's your main goal, is to transmit proper values to your kids, which one thing includes is producing value to the world, producing things and helping the world do better. And if you're producing kids that are parasites to society, then shame on you. Now, obviously, sometimes this might not be your fault. Sometimes there is free will. But overall, if you're just letting them and spoiling them rotten, as some people have commented on my post before, that's not a good thing. All right, the last thing I want to talk about is we've kind of mentioned some of these things, but I'm kind of like dig a little deeper. If you have this self-sufficiency on a family, the family can work together as a small unit, you have a little more movement and a little more stability. Obviously, self-sufficiency and stability within the family doing stuff, but this helps social performance, academic performance. Children who come from stable two-parent homes seem definitely to perform better. Let's say in the school system, the kids that seem to struggle the most usually came from broken homes, homes that were homes that had issues, homes that where there was maybe one parent or parents in jail. It's the homes that had good, strong family units, where the kids that didn't have all of the behavioral issues and social issues and mental issues that some of these other kids had. And this is not against these kids that are struggling, because obviously they're struggling, but it's shame on society and the parents for allowing this to happen. Society should be encouraging and really encouraging the strong fathers, strong mothers, and strong families to take care of their kids. Emotional resilience, strong values, very important as well. We kind of talked about this before as well, but when you have children who are grown in a two-parent household, strong two-parent household, all of a sudden you see a lot more better work ethic, better values, emotional resilience. Mothers and fathers can help children with emotional control. This is very important, and help guide the child who's growing up, and guide them to become straight, tall trees, if you want to say that, instead of just these wandering trees that go all over the place. the parents can train the child to become strong and resilient to society, to social pressures. And also, when you have a good strong family, all of a sudden you have a good strong social structure that contributes to society. Now, one more point that let's see here. I talked about that already. One more point that I really want to mention here is that when you have two parents at home, two parents who are married, one of the big things that comes up is like, what about money? If you only have one parent working, you don't make as much money. But you have to think, one of the big reasons why I'm so much against daycare and after school programs is that it costs usually parents to pay for these types of things. And so let's say you have two parents working, and let's say mom is making, let's say, $3,000 a month, and dad's making like $5,000 a month. Just for the sake of argument, I think those are really fair numbers that you could, some people might be doing. Mom might be working 2 or 3 days a week. And when this happens, you're spending most of mom's money for daycare and for other things as well, like food, extra, going out to eat, and extra spending. You're spending money in other areas, and that absorbs a lot of that extra money that mom was making or dad was making. Also, when men are forced to produce more and be the sole breadwinners, they seem to do better. And well, this is how guys work. I mean, as a guy, as men, we do better when we are given this massive task to provide and protect. And so that's a good thing. So I gave a whole breakdown of this in a totally different video on a totally different channel. Maybe I'll try to link that down below as well for you. You can check out. With that, don't forget to double check and grab my, while you're down there, look at the description, grab my Where Science and Christianity, where I don't think they're at war with each other. I think they connect, and I think they interact really well. I have a quick guide that talks about that. Please grab that and tell me what you think. And with that, feel free to watch for the next video and follow this channel.